We all do not want to pay tax. It's understandable. We will rather keep the money in our pockets. But we have to pay tax because it is from tax that we develop our societies world over. Even in the Bible, tax collectors were hated. Nobody wants to associate with tax collectors all over the world because we see them as enemies, those who come at us and collect money that is very, very dear to us. But again, I repeat, we need to pay tax because it is from this tax that we develop our societies. And that is why I believe that educating everyone, and I mean everyone, about tax collection and tax payment is very critical for the development of the world. Whether it's in the developed countries, whether it's in the underdeveloped countries, it is important that adequate investment be made to the communication and understanding of tax collection and tax payment. It's for that reason that we in Inside Watch Africa have decided to, on this edition of Trade Watch Africa, to talk about tax collection and specifically with the customs. We've decided to go to the Nigerian Customs Service and we're starting from one of their area commands, specifically the Kirikiri Lighter Terminal, a very rounded custom officer, in my opinion, somebody that understands the harmonized code. He's principled, is disciplined. His name is Controller Ami Suome. Brace yourself for another very exciting edition of Trade Watch Africa. I'm your host, Oluwaseyi Adegoke Adeyemo. It's another edition of our Trade Watch Africa, and we have the privilege to be at the Kirikiri Light Terminal Area Command. We're actually with the area controller right now, and so we're really thankful that she gave us the audience today to for us to be able to speak to you. Today, we want to be talking directly to the thoughts and thinking of most stakeholders in the port. A lot of people come into the Nigerian ports believing that it's a place where they can just start business and start to do things. The truth of the matter is there are guiding rules. There is the harmonized system that was signed to more than 34 years, specifically in 1988, that guides the rules globally. Sir, I would want you to explain to our audience all over the world what is the essence of the harmonized system.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here on your program. First of all, international trade requires that there are guiding principles that are understood by all stakeholders in the international trade chain. As we have importers, we also have exporters. Therefore, we have agreements guiding purchase of goods, transfer of those goods across international boundaries. Now, the harmonized system and the customs tariff are products of international agreements, like I said. All countries of the world are signatories and are members of the World Customs Organization. So you have the customs tariff, which is applicable to all countries of the world. So it's the same tariff you find in Nigeria, that you find in the United Kingdom, with China. Now, what is different about the tariff are the headings where you have your international and the national for the rates of duty. So the only difference would be the rates of duty of goods. But all goods are classified. Every single item has a heading, a tariff heading. Like I said, it's as a result of international agreements. Now, what this does is streamline the trade process where, like I said, goods can be classified. There is no ambiguity and there are rules to classification. There are several rules for classification of goods, and when you have applicable rates of duty headings for goods, there is no disparity, and the appropriate duties can be collected by customs. Now, the tariff is not a secret document. It's not restricted to Nigeria Customs Service. It is a public document which can be acquired by anybody. You can get copies of the tariff from Nigeria Customs Service headquarters. It's available for sale from the Tariff and Trade Department, the tariff unit. I don't know if there are any other.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted you to land. Now, so we talk about globalization, and this naturally speaks directly to globalization. But then you then have the custom external tariff. They talk about custom union. Now, what is the difference? Why do we have custom external tariffs?
Okay, so like I said, we have the World Customs Organization, to which all countries in the world, the customs administrations are members. But also, you are aware that we have trade, international, regional groupings of countries. In Africa, we have, for example, the ECOWAS, which is the Economic Community of West African States. Now, these groupings of countries, regional groupings, serve the purpose of preferential trade agreements, that is protecting the trade between countries and regions. So, for the CET, which Nigeria Customs Service operates, the proper title is the ECOWAS Common External Tariff, and the current one is the 2022-2026. So the current one will last till 2026, and the president will issue a fresh one for 2027. It's recurring every 5 years. Yes. Now, every country as a signatory is supposed to domesticate the CET within its boundaries. So we have the ECOWAS CET. There are peculiarities relating to the ECOWAS sub-region. But even within the ECOWAS sub-region, we also have national peculiarities. So you have, for example, goods that certain countries want to protect against flooding of those goods into their markets. So, for example, you are aware that the federal government has a policy on rice, and therefore, for example, rice is restricted for importation through the land borders, while there is also a tariff regime that is meant to protect Nigerian local production of rice. So the CET, or Common External Tariff, like I said, is for the ECOWAS sub-region. So what you find in the CET applies
To all the ECOWAS.
countries in the ECOWAS sub-region. Yes.
That takes me to the next question I want to ask. So, in trying to interpret the tariff, you hear of explanatory notes, you hear of legal notes. What is the difference between the explanatory notes and the legal notes? Just for the sake of our audience as well.
So, like I said, all countries are members of the World Customs Organization. And I said earlier on, there are principles that are mutually agreed to for international trade. Now, the tariff, the customs tariff, is a universal document. However, is also a technical document. It's not very easy for the layman to understand. So there are times that there are misunderstandings, there are disagreements in interpretation, in classification. Like I said, every single item has a tariff heading. Now, the World Customs Organization also has other documents that help to further simplify the process of classification. And that's where the explanatory notes come in. So we have the explanatory notes that go in detail and capture the items that should come under every chapter with their description, their purpose, their function, the primary constituents, what those items are made of. Then we also have the index, which is an alphabetical listing of all items imaginable. You can think of any item, either by, like I said, description, function, or the constituents of that item. So these are the
Ways this is.
yes.
Okay, now let's go straight to your area command. Let's talk about this area command because it's clear that you're someone who's got a broad knowledge of the customs service. Now, you've been here as area controller for a while. What are those things that you would say has helped you to operate as area controller successfully since your resumption as area controller?
Okay, I resumed at the Gary Lighter Terminal Command on the 8th of December 2020. And immediately on arriving at the command, I met a lot of challenges. The first one I can tell you is the situation on the roads coming into the command. Now, immediately I resumed, I invited all stakeholders, the port community, security agencies, other government agencies, and what I will call the trading public, the clearing agents, importers, to look at the situation and see how we can, if it's beyond us to construct, at least we can do something to control the traffic around this area. And I can assure you we have achieved a lot together with the Federal Road Safety Commission, Nigeria Ports Authority, the Nigeria Police Force, other government agencies, the UPEN, the petroleum products tank farms, and we have, to a large extent, reduce the congestion around the entry points into the command. While it's not the best situation we can have, but we are hopeful that the road construction will come to a completion very soon. Now, there are also other challenges. We had issues in the transfer of containers from the mother ports, that's Apapa and Tinkan, and we also looked at alternative means of transferring our containers. So a large volume of our containers coming by barge. So we are also working together with the barge operators, with the jetty owners, the Nigeria Ports Authority. So we have been, to a large extent, able to reduce the challenges involved in transfer of containers from border ports. Now, the primary mandate of Nigeria Customs Service includes revenue collection, enforcement duties, that is anti-smuggling operations, and trade facilitation. Very big function of Nigeria Customs Service. Now, like I said, we collaborate with our stakeholders. We hold regular meetings. Now, one of the things I looked at is revenue leakages. What are the loopholes? And we've done our best to plug those loopholes. Unpaid assessments, uncleared cargo, overtime cargo, underpayments, value of the declaration, wrong classification, false declaration, And we recorded major success in our revenue performance since I resumed here. Now, for the year 2020, I resumed here in December. A total of 22 billion naira was collected as revenue by the command. Yes, but I can tell you that as at November this year, we have collected 42 billion naira
Wow.
as revenue.
Wow.
This is
Like
double the
double, yes.
collection so in 2021 we had 36.6 billion. So you can see a progressive increase. It has not been easy, but I can tell you that we have the cooperation of our stakeholders, and it has been uphill.
Okay, you want to guess?
And when I resumed here, I also found a number of terminals that were non-functional. I invited the terminal operators and we looked into their challenges. And I'm happy to tell you, we were able to bring back one of the terminals, which is J. Onis terminal. It was non-functional, but it's functional today. Yes. Now, we have also recorded more successes. We have 3 additional terminals that have come on stream. One for import, export, and transfer of empty containers, and the other 2 for export. You are aware that the federal government is desirous of
Export.
diversifying our revenue base. Yes. So the command has gotten approval from headquarters for 2 new export terminals. In fact, I'm going from this afternoon to inspect one of them. So our volume of activities has greatly increased, and we hope that very soon these 2 new terminals will be fully operational, and we will play our own parts in the earning of foreign exchange and boosting of economic activities. Yes. Now, we've also recorded other successes in the command. We've had seizures, different seizures of custom goods, that is prohibited items. I'll break it down. We had 2 containers of used tires, 3 containers, sorry, of used tires. We had 2 containers of vegetable oil, which is a prohibited item. Bottled water is also a prohibited item. We have 24 by 40-foot containers of charcoal, which were being exported without the requisite export documentation and approvals. We also have a 1 by 40-foot container of mosquito coil. You are aware that mosquito coil is a prohibited item. We have a 1 by 40-foot container of footwear, 2 by 40-foot container of codeine, cough syrup, and fake Viagra contained in the container. Now we are aware what fake drugs,
The hazardous.
the role of fake drugs in the insecurity situation we have in the country. So we have also 1 container of certain items that are strictly regulated. That is handcuffs, stun guns, that require approval from the Office of the National Security Advisor, for which no approval was secured before the importation. So we have done relatively well in our anti-smuggling activities, like you mentioned. I also mentioned earlier that we have very robust relationship with our stakeholders. Now, within the service, where we have other units aside from the command, and we have the evaluation, the PCA, that's the post-clearance audit. We have the Federal Operations Unit, CGC Strike Force. So we also have maintained a working relationship with them. And like we say, one customs, one government.
Thank you, sir. This is my last question. You talked about a lot of collaboration, and that for me is music in my ears. So I'm going to ask you this very interesting question. I try to ask people all the time when I have this opportunity. Who was your mentor? Who was that person when you entered the Nigerian Customs Service that you looked up to and admired? And for what reason did you admire him so much that you were able to take him as your mentor?
Now, you see, when we graduated from university, our first hope was get a job. But you know, I remember sitting down one day on television. I saw a beautiful parade by customs officers, and I was really impressed. That was my introduction to Nigerian Customs Service, and the parade was so perfectly executed. I was impressed. The appearance of the officers in their uniforms, and that was when I developed an interest in the service. And I'm grateful to God Almighty that I was able to join Nigeria Customs Service, and I've grown to the highest promotable rank in the service, which is the rank of commissioner. Yes. I would also tell you that we, the command, are very appreciative of the Controller General of Customs, Honorable Hamid Ibrahim Ali, retired. I can tell you that he has been very, very, very supportive of this command, of all the commands. But we can tell you that
special.
We have at several times our officers have gotten their promotions as they're going to. So you can see there's a high morale. Our welfare, the city has introduced so many welfare packages. So we're most grateful to the city.
But who was your mentor? Who was that person? Yes, you saw customs. And when you now started work, did you meet anyone, particularly when you started, that actually sort of sparked your desire and love for the
Well, yes,
job?
I also had an in-law of mine. He was a customs officer. He's long retired. He retired now for well 15 years now. So he was also my immediate contact with the service. Yes. So I can assure you, a wonderful gentleman. He retired the rank of assistant controller, as an assistant controller, Mazaratu, that's his name. So the officer of high integrity. I can tell you that's one of the people who inspired me.
We thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. People out there all over the world, I'm sure you've heard it from the area controller of Kirikiri Light and Sabina. The interesting thing is, the reason why we made up our mind that we're going to talk to him was he is a veteran, as far as I'm concerned, custom officer, because he came from the headquarters, particularly from the import and export. These are the people who help to formulate and give shape to the things that the Nigerian Customs Service does. Till we see you on the next edition, have a great time.